My view is, we did a lot of fundamental research, and if you consider the supply of Bitcoin relative, let's say, to the supply of gold in the world, and what the total value of gold is, if Bitcoin were to go to those kinds of numbers, you'd be talking about $400,000 to $600,000 per Bitcoin.
So I think this is part of the revolution of many things, and it's going to be a good change when it happens. But again, it's going to take the bubble bursting and people seeing the cost of excessive monetary creation, a cost of excessive leverage and investing, creating such a bubble that when it bursts, it overnight destroys $2 to $250 trillion. Again, you can't have that much money disappear without creating a depression.
Exactly.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
Self-destruct sequence activated. 3, 2, 1.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Just ask him about the car, man.
Is this yours, Larry? Is this your homework, Larry?
Is that your car out front?
Is this your homework, Larry?
We know it's his fucking homework. Where's the fucking money, you little brat?
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Johnny here, and in today's episode, we are going to take a look at this massive 9% correction out of Bitcoin. We are going to take a peek over at Ethereum and see if it's still gaining ground or not on Bitcoin. And we're going to take a look in the news. There's some really interesting news out right now that really just adds further confluence to the bullish case for Bitcoin, something that's really hard to ignore right now. All right, but before we get going in today's episode, guys, if you could please hit that like and subscribe button. You know I definitely appreciate that love. But without further ado, let's get going. All right, so we're on Ethereum right now, so let's go to Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin 4-hour chart. As you see, we got about a 10% correction early this morning. Something that's honestly been long overdue. I mean, if you just look here at the 4-hour chart, it's not even anything really of significance. In fact, it's actually healthy. So this was very much expected. We do have the 21 daily EMA all the way down here at 36.3K. Now, do I think the price is going to fall that low? Honestly, at this point, I do not know. Let's go ahead and take a look at some indicators here. So these are the daily indicators. You can see we got the stochastic up here well into the overbought territory. We have the RSI approaching 80, so we are getting up there on the daily RSI, but we do look to be pretty wide open here on both the volume weighted and the regular MACD. But one thing that really kind of has me a bit hesitant here is the BitMEX funding rate on the daily. We are heavily into the positive, and if we go to the weekly too, we are pretty far into the positive there. Nothing insane like what we saw back in 2017, but it is getting pretty high up there, and the weekly RSI is sitting right at 88. So if we could come down, that would be great. Give these indicators a chance to breathe a bit, give us some more data to work with and some fresh indicators to help us kind of see where the Bitcoin price is going. So this is the 4-hour chart here. We got this breakout out of this top, this inverse head and shoulders here, and what I can't help but notice is the roundedness of this top. So typically when you see a rounded bottom like this after a correction, you tend to have this form into a parabolic move to the upside, or a cup and handle. So what we could be seeing here, we may get some sort of falling wedge come all the way back down to give us the bullish confirmation here of this breakout level. Came down and we got the bullish confirmation confirming this area as new support. That would in fact be extremely bullish, and depending on how long it takes Bitcoin to get down there, it could come down and meet up very nicely with the 21 daily EMA. But for right now, I'm I'm really just waiting for some price structure to develop. This trade is still on the chart that I posted with the group. So before this breakout, I saw this falling wedge formed. I posted this to the group with this aggressive buy right here, right at 38.4K, which turned out really nicely. We hit T1 very quickly and then blew right through T1, made it all the way up to T2 at 46.9. And we didn't quite make it up to 52K just yet, but I do think that's coming, especially after we get this bullish confirmation retest. So that's really what we're doing over here, is just waiting for some structure to develop, seeing what happens with this correction. I don't see it being anything out of the ordinary or too severe, especially with all of the institutional FOMO that's going on right now. All right, so bearish scenario here. So Bitcoin still does appear to be in this bull flag pattern here on the 4-hour. If you zoom in, it looks a little, it's iffy. It's hard to call it a bull flag, to be honest with you. But from the 4-hour, you know, it is still looking fairly bullish. But if we do get the break to the downside, the first thing we'll be looking for is a break of this 21 4-hour EMA. And then we should gain some support here on the 55 4-hour EMA. But if price action does break below that, we are likely headed down to test the 21 daily EMA right down here, which happens to be right next to the 200 4-hour EMA. Now, worst case or best case scenario, really depending on how you look at it, we could come all the way down to the 21 weekly EMA, all the way down here at $25,430, which would be a pretty significant move from where the price is right now. In fact, that would be about a 43% correction. Honestly, it's nothing we haven't seen before during a Bitcoin bull run. So if it does happen, you have to look at it as an amazing once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because that is exactly what it is. So speaking of news, caught this in Bloomberg this morning. So apparently the US could have a Bitcoin ETF here in 2021. Now, we've been talking about this for a very long time. It's always been rumors. It's always been hearsay. And it's never really had a legitimate path to becoming an ETF. So this is pretty interesting stuff right here. And I'm going to show you guys some more evidence that we could be seeing a Bitcoin ETF here very, very soon. Stock traded miners are starting to hold their Bitcoin versus dump it on the market. I mean, this is a big deal, guys. So after considerable planning, implementation of internal controls, counterparty risk and custody arrangements, blah, 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 Bitfarms has commenced a Bitcoin pilot retention program. So Bitfarms is a publicly traded company. They operate in Quebec, so they're Canadian. So they have 150 Bitcoin. 7 million is a small amount compared to the 180 Bitcoins a month, all of which they mine will be retained now. So moving into this a bit deeper, so DigiHost Tech, they are also one of the mining companies that is going to start kind of hodling their Bitcoin versus selling it on the exchanges. Marathon, another Bitcoin miner, doing the exact same thing, and adding a bit more confluence to the idea of a Bitcoin ETF coming. Let's go ahead and take a look at these guys' stock. All right, so this is Bitfarms, and you can see that since October 8th of this year, they have been up almost a little over 1,400%, 1,429%. That is a 14.29x on that stock share. That's pretty damn good. If we take a look at Marathon is up almost 10,000% since the crash back in March. And then we have smaller firm DigiHost, but they are up an incredible amount too since last March. They are up over 26,000%. So these stocks are performing extraordinarily well. Now, I know, considering the environment, that really almost all stocks are performing well right now, but these guys are absolutely killing it. I mean, you have right here, you have Marathon beating Bitcoin is in terms of revenue, and I mean in terms of growth. But I mean, this is just insane. This just adds further reason, further rationale why there should be a Bitcoin ETF. And guys, I really think this is coming. Corporations also intend to physically hold Bitcoin. So this is getting pretty big. And, you know, the saying goes, it happens gradually, and then it happens suddenly. And you know what? I think that it's time that it is happening suddenly. Let's go ahead and see what else is going on right now. So the DXY, I was worried or nervous, or I wouldn't even use any of those words. I was a bit concerned that we might get a bounce here and the DXY might actually gain some strength because it was looking pretty bullish there for a short amount of time, but right now it's holding support on this upper trend line of this giant falling wedge. And if it does get the bullish bounce here, we could see Bitcoin take a bit of a tumble. So if the DXY breaks across this resistance area here that I have, then, we could be looking at some further downside out of Bitcoin. But if the DXY continues heading further to the downside, that could be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. And we could see the DXY head down below 84 on the index. All right, so let's move on to the total crypto market cap here on the daily, looking incredibly bullish, just continuing to push further to the upside. I have it coming up to this $1.78 trillion before we really get a significant correction, but it is meeting some resistance here at this horizontal fib channel. So depending whether or not we can get across there, we'll get up to that $1.7 trillion level, which from where it is right now is a pretty significant move. We have Bitcoin dominance just kind of hovering down here, which has been great for altcoins. We've been seeing some incredible gains over the past couple of days, a couple coins in the triple digits, so that's pretty awesome. But, we are keeping a close eye on here because if the dominance does pop here, and there's a very good chance that it might, we could see altcoins just really get hit pretty hard. So keep your eyes on your altcoin bags, guys, and make sure that, you don't get this crazy pump here out of Bitcoin and then be stuck really holding your altcoins when Bitcoin is pumping. Taking a look here at the S&P 500. So now that Tesla is converting some of its balance sheet over to Bitcoin, everyone that has a vested interest in the S&P 500 has a stake in Bitcoin from one way or another. So they have exposure to Bitcoin, and we've seen the S&P 500 just absolutely kick some ass, especially since the March crash. And every time we get a sign of bearishness, something happens and it just sends it even further to beyond all-time highs. So looking here, this is the 4-hour. Let's go ahead and zoom all the way out to the weekly. So looking at the weekly here, the S&P 500 just keeps putting in higher and higher all-time highs. Definitely have a bearish divergence. I mean, this could be negated right here, but this bearish divergence, I guess you could say it played out in this correction right here. So this one, if this continues to push further to the upside, then this could completely negate this enormous bearish divergence, and we could see some pretty insane price targets out of the S&P 500. So looking at the USDT market cap dominance, it is still on a fairly steady decline. The ETH cap dominance has taken a bit of a hit, and everything is looking like it's turning around to point right back at Bitcoin to take the center stage once again. So let's go ahead and take a peek at Ethereum here really quick. So first we'll take a look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. This is the Ethereum 2-hour Bitcoin chart. This is tough to tell here. So this could be rounding off. We could be getting a nice head and shoulders to form here. We might get a right shoulder to form, and then we might see this come back to the downside. I think that we might get one more pump here. It might not be a big one. We might come up and retest this 2-hour 55 EMA before coming back down. But I definitely see Ethereum taking a bit of a hit versus Bitcoin here, at least in the short to mid-term. So if we look at the Ethereum US dollar chart, however, this is still looking fairly bullish. Fell a little bit down out of this rising wedge. I don't know really what you want to call that there, but we are consolidating right here. It did hold support on the 55 2-hour EMA. See, I'm on the 2-hour because if we zoom out to the daily, it's really hard to get a read on where this price action is going because it's just been in a straight parabolic move to the upside. So, but right now, it seems to be holding support well here above the 21 daily EMA. It did hold on the 8 daily EMA as well. So we may get a pullback all the way down here to the 13, all the way down at $16,000, 15,900 or $1,600, but it may come all the way down to the 21 daily EMA, all the way down here at $1,497, which honestly would be a great re-entry for Ethereum if you're looking to ride this massive parabolic wave to the upside. All right, so one thing I saved for last was this article that I found about Tesla seeking proposal to add Monero as a payment method. So Monero hasn't really been in the news for a while just because they were getting wiped off of exchanges because they are actually a private coin. So everything that Bitcoin stands for, I mean, that's really what Monero really does. So Monero is one of the only true privacy coins out there. And I think Dash was, but I'm not sure if they are still. And there are a few others, but they've kind of faded into the background. The same with Monero. So Monero is a great cryptocurrency. I've actually had the pleasure of going to a few Monero meetups. The people are so dope and interesting and cool. But this could be really, really good for Monero. So if you're like me, you're always holding on to a small bag of Monero because it is one of my favorite cryptos for a number of reasons. Mostly its privacy feature, which is something that soon will be really hard to find as we transition over to digital everything. So let's go ahead and take a look at XMR here on the old chart here. So we'll look at XMR versus Bitcoin first. And of course, it's taking a hit. Really, almost everything against Bitcoin is taking a hit. But let's go ahead and take a look at XMR versus the US dollar. See, and of course, look at this parabolic move to the upside. It's been just going like crazy. And then look at this nice double bottom. It looks like it might have met a neckline here right at the 200 daily EMA, and it's just pushing further and further to the upside. So this chart is looking fairly bullish for Monero. If we try to see where this might be going, this looks like it could be maybe a top double bottom right here. So this would be a double bottom and then a break of this neckline here. And that would give us a pretty decent move. Let's go ahead and get an arrow. So we'll take the measured move here of this breakout of this double bottom. That's another 20, well, it's 20%. So from where the price is right now, that's another 11%. But that puts Monero sitting right at around $189 per. But if we zoom out to the weekly, I have a feeling we're going to see something much bigger and much more bullish here. And of course we do. So look at this. I mean, we have this humongous rounded bottom, which is a very bullish structure. If this gets the push that it might from Tesla adding Monero to its balance sheet, we could see Monero take off like crazy. So this rounded bottom bullish structure, again, like I mentioned with Bitcoin, sometimes these have a tendency to kind of just move right into a parabolic move to the upside. All right, that's what we're looking at with Monero. Let's go ahead and take a measure move and see what we can get here out of this larger double bottom. I'm going to move that to the upside here. From the breakout of the neckline, that puts it at a 78% gain all the way up to $240. But if we take a trend-based fib extension here, up to the high point and then down to the low. A 1-to-1 here puts us all the way up at $1,695, which is definitely feasible considering the news surrounding Monero right now, which would be over an 11x from where price is right now. So if you're not holding any Monero, it's not financial advice, but I would get my mittens on some. It might be hard to find now that you really can't find it on exchanges, but if you can get some, I would do that. But all right, guys, that's it. That's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to ding that bell to stay up to date on all the latest and the greatest. And one last thing, don't forget to visit the website. If you're new to crypto and you want to learn how to trade, I am building the most amazing trading course out there. So check it out, www.3candlecollective.com. My name is Johnny, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.